Welcome to Cannoncast, the Cannonball Festival podcast where you can meet the artists of the festival one-on-one. Cannonball is a performing arts festival in Philadelphia and is a hub of the Philadelphia Fringe Festival. We present new and groundbreaking work from local, national, and international artists working in dance, theater, circus, and other performing arts. Today, I speak with Alaina Johns, theater critic and editor-in-chief of the Broad Street Review. Thank you for joining me today. Would you, just for anyone who is not familiar with Broad Street Review, could you talk a little bit about what the mission of Broad Street Review is?
Sure. So Broad Street Review was founded in 2005 as an all-online arts journal. So we are celebrating our 20th year this year, which is a long time in internet years, we know. And I have been editor-in-chief there since 2018. And in that time, BSR has really become the greater Philadelphia region's largest professional interdisciplinary arts and culture outlet. We cover all genres of art. We're talking theater, dance, museums, music, public space, pretty much anything you can think of, we cover. And we have a special focus on access in the arts and arts journalism, which a lot of the time means disability justice, but also so many other things, including economic access. We just really believe in figuring out how we can better connect folks to the arts and how we can make those spaces more inclusive through our coverage.
I don't think I actually knew that there was such a highlight on accessibility. I'd certainly seen that theme in some of your articles, but I didn't know that it was a specific mission of the Broad Street Review as a whole.
Yeah, it's really, so we've always been arts focused, and past editors have really put the lens on Philadelphia arts, and that's also a big part of our mission. We really believe that Philadelphia's world-class artists deserve coverage that focuses on them. We also cover South Jersey, Delaware, the Philly burbs. But yes, also when I came into my job as editor-in-chief, that accessibility mission is part of what I bring, and it's something that everyone on our team works really hard on.
What's that sort of look like as sort of a day-to-day kind of work for you and the rest of the team?
Yeah, it goes deep, and it happens all the time. And there's so many ways of thinking about it. One is paying attention to art that's happening with and by and for disabled artists. Super important. Another part of it is welcoming disabled writers into our community. We have writers with a range of disabilities, a lot of really interesting experiences. I also am a person with a disability, so I bring that lens to the work. So it's about who is covering it. It's about what we're covering. Another piece of that is, and I think we may be it's the only publication I know that does this. We standardize with all of our reviews the accessibility information. So when you look at a review on Broad Street Review, you can read it, you can see, where it's happening and when and all that. You also see with every article who can get into the room, and that means we note, is the space wheelchair accessible? Is there a relaxed performance? Is there an ASL interpreted performance? All kinds of things like that. We really believe that info needs to come to the surface, because even when institutions are starting to provide those accommodations and fill those needs, they're not always doing a great job of communicating about it and getting that word out. So our role on that public side of the art is to be like, hey, this info should be standard. And I think that that's doing two really important things. One is making sure that everyone who reads BSR, including tons of disabled people in our area, know at a glance what they can access. But secondly, this normalizes that work of talking about the access that we should have in our minds, that, hey, when we read about the arts, it should be normal to look at it and see who can get into the room. This is not some kind of special add-on. This is a standard thing that should always be there.
Yeah. That's very in line with the folks from Antihero Theater Company.
Yeah, you mean the show that is mixing, from Antihero Theater Company, mixing signing and speaking. Yeah, I was just writing about this today for Broad Street Review. I'm really excited to see them. Yeah,
Uh,
my boyfriend and I sat down this morning and went over all the shows that he's going to come
yeah,
do with me this year, which is a long list. He's a really good sport.
yeah, that's very cool. What's on what's not on your shortlist, but what's on your boyfriend's shortlist, if you don't mind my asking?
Oh, well, he's a really good sport, comes out to a lot of things, but one artist that we both really like is Chris Davis.
Oh yeah,
We really enjoyed One Man Ballerino and the revivals of One Man Nutcracker, and him having been to see those shows with me, now he's excited to come see
yeah.
it presented. There's also I should have had it in front of me. I don't have the name, but there is um, like an interdisciplinary show at Plays and Players about Japanese ghost stories,
Oh
which
yes,
sounds really cool. So we're gonna check that out.
nice.
Yeah,
I,
and it's just a big range of stuff.
I
There's a
feel
lot.
I should clarify too. I was asking. I didn't mean to make it sound like I didn't want to hear your shortlist too, but I'm always
No
interested in
worries.
like the civilians that we bring along.
I know, right? They're such good sports.
Yeah, yeah. And I feel like
Yeah.
there's somewhere, there's somewhere I'm like, all right, this one's going to be a little too out there for you, but I think you'll have a good time. And then yeah, there are some where I bring him and I'm like, you have been a very good sport for for joining me at this.
Yeah.
And somehow my husband always gets picked for like the participatory moment of a show. I don't know how it
Oh man,
happens.
my condolences.
Thank you. Yes, I'll pass them along to him. But yeah, tell me more about what you're excited about.
Man, so, yeah, I have a long list of stuff I'm gonna see. It's too much to all get into here, but I'm excited to see Sarah Nathal's back with Ben Franklin's Sex Party. She's actually working on a piece for Broad Street View right now. She's kind of doing her own guide to some of the clown shows that are new this
Oh,
year,
nice.
so that will be exciting. Folks can look forward to that. Yeah, but anyway, so I'm looking forward to seeing that. I'm looking forward to the Chris Davis. I'm looking forward to the new Lightning Rod special show. Basically, whatever Lightning Rod special does, I am there. So I'm looking forward. And one really exciting, kind of related to our earlier conversation on access. An exciting theme I'm seeing this year is a lot of artists are talking directly about experiences of disability, chronic illness, and also specifically healthcare access, the problems of trying to access healthcare. And there's a lot of solo shows that look really interesting in that vein, including experiences with chronic illness, experiences with disparities in mental health care for Black people, other people of color. A lot of really important topics in there that I'm excited to dig into this year.
There's one called Falling. It's a solo show.
Yes.
Did you see that
A
one?
disabled love story.
Yeah, yeah. I love
Yes, yeah, it's on my list.
the description for it just had me cracking up. It was something about, will they find love or just settle for sad hand jobs?
Hmm.
Um,
It seems very real. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Uh,
I saw that especially because when disabled stories break through, often we still have it's non-disabled people writing them or non-disabled people portraying disabled characters, and even when that happens, it's sex and sexuality and dating and romance is either ignored or misrepresented for
hmm.
disabled folks, and I think it's so important that we have disabled folks telling those stories in their own voices, because disabled people, date and love and have sex and break up and just like anybody else, and we should be able to tell those stories. Yeah, there's a show, Philly's Medicare for All movement
Yeah,
has a show called Healthcare is a Human Right,
yeah.
which apparently you can bring your own sign to. So I'm excited to see. It says they welcome strong opinions on for-profit healthcare. So I'll be there.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to that. We chatted a little bit just before recording, just about sort of media's role in theater and culture. I'm wondering if we could talk about that, how those things sort of come together and interact.
Sure.
I think I'm sort of curious about, like, how do you see and experience the role of like cultural criticism in an arts landscape that is
Mm-hmm.
maybe often focused on just sort of the production of the thing.
Mm-hmm. So I teach actually a pair of classes about cultural criticism, which have been popular. And we talk about this a lot. And one thing I get at is that when people think about reviewers or cultural critics, they think, oh, well, we're just professional haters and our job is to go and to say whether or not something is good, right? What's your opinion on it? And yes, that's a really important part of the job. We're delivering our opinion, but there's so many other really important pieces of that work that a lot of people don't realize. One is that critics create a real-time cultural record of what's happening in our society. So, and a Fringe Festival is a really good example of that. Because our BSR critics are going out to see dozens of shows, when they do that, not only are they're giving their opinion on the show, driving conversations about the show, helping audiences figure out what to go to, that critic is creating an independent public record of that performance. And what that means is years later, anyone, because BSR, we don't have a paywall. You can go find us. Our whole archive is there. Anyone can go read about that show, a month from now, a year from now, 5 years from now, and see not only what folks were working on, but what the reaction to it was. This is such an important dialogue for everyone, and connected to that too is the reality that a lot of these independent producers that you see, especially in Fringe festivals, they need that documentation to get them to the next step, for their next grant, or some kind of, an application for school, or an application for a residency or something like that. We even have artists contact us who are from overseas, who have had their work covered in BSR, and they're like, hey, I need this review of this work because I need to include it in all of my documents for my immigration.
Wow.
So yeah, which is cool, right? And we have folks who they're applying for a grant, or they're applying for residency or whatever, and to do that they need to prove to the grantor or whoever that they are doing this work in the public sphere, and they need an independent record of it, and that's what the reviews are. So it doesn't even matter, what the review says is a whole other thing from all these other functions that a review is giving. So those are just some of the things that a critic is doing when they come into the room, and the folks who are doing this for a career take this very seriously, and I have this conversation with my colleagues all the time about this. There's so many depictions of critics as these really mean, dour people just waiting to hate on you, right? And yeah, I get a lot of angry emails, in my capacity as editor, in my capacity as a journalist for almost 20 years. You're never going to make everyone happy with your opinions because, again, we're not somebody's PR arm. But the truth is that we're not in this work as haters. We're in it because we love the work. We're in it because we love to drive a conversation about that work. We want to welcome more people into the work. We want to contextualize that work. When you read a good review, it's not just about the work itself. It's giving you an education about it. What's the history of it? What is the context of that work in our society right now? Why this work? Right now versus another work. These are all questions the critic is asking, and it's just such an important piece of that art, at least from our perspective.
Right.
Like, you always want to, disinvite the critics, or we don't need the critics. And obviously from our side, we're saying, no, don't. Yeah, we have a really important relationship.
Are the classes you're teaching primarily aimed at folks going into theater or culture critique, or is it like a useful class for producers and artists to come and just get more context around that industry?
Yes. So when I do teach these classes, that we do them online. We actually just finished our most recent session of them in July. I'm sure we'll run them again because a lot of people register. So yeah, they are primarily for writers, especially emerging writers. or maybe writers who have other professional journalistic experience, but they haven't written about the arts or they haven't started to do criticism. So that's primarily, we kind of teach those principles of reviewing. We teach about how critics get access to the art and, what that job actually is like. But when we do them, we also welcome in the wider community. We welcome in artists who want to understand the critics process. We welcome in our readers who like to read our reviews and they want to understand how they get written. Whenever we do these classes, we have a mix of all those kinds of folks.
I'm thinking about the phrase like starting a conversation, and I'm thinking about like we put reviews online or sometimes in papers, and there's often like comment sections, or you're saying like you'll get emails. What is what is the best form of that conversation for people to reply to, or what is the sort of online forum like? Is it most often in comment sections, or how do you experience it now, and how do you see it developing sort of over the next few years?
I mean, who knows, right? Like when you're working in digital media, especially nonprofit arts media, it's like, I don't know, ask me in 6 months and we'll see what we invented. I think that there's not one answer to that question. So we're happy when folks read one of our reviews and then like argue about it in the comments. That's we love to see, or I'm not saying argument is good. I'm just saying people bring their opinions and they want to express their opinions, and we love being a forum for that. So certainly you can do that, but even if it, like, say you're walking out of the theater and maybe you want to find a review and read about it and and talk about it with someone through that lens, and it never even makes it to the internet, that's fantastic. Like I really would say, and this is something a philosophy we have at BSR too, is like, hey, that we have to look at engagement. How many people are opening the newsletter? How many clicks do we get? How many followers do we have? Like, everyone has to answer those questions, but we are focused on the quality of the work that we do, and I always think that those conversations that happen in real life, we're in the theater seeing the real thing. That's the real thing. That's the work. And whether you're having a conversation online or you're having a conversation in person, they're both just as important, and it's not always going to be quantified, Yeah. But if you want to be in a dialogue with BSR, yeah, absolutely, you can comment on our articles. You can find us on Instagram at Broad Street Review, and get in touch with us there. Our emails are on the website. If you've got strong feelings about something one way or the other, that's great. So, and also we have our own podcast. So, there's different ways that you can tune in and listen. You can read on the site, you can read our newsletters. We have live events, both in person and digital events. So I don't know if being in that BSR conversation sounds cool to you, I would say start by subscribing to our weekly newsletter so you can see what's going on, and then you can drop in on what's interesting to you.
Cool. I wonder, did you hear about Savannah Reich's postcard sending this year?
It's ringing a bell, but tell me.
I think she's sort of doing a pilot program version of it where she's reached out to 30 or so artists that she knows and sort of made a chain letter where each of them is assigned to the next person in the chain's show, and then that person goes to see this show, and I think they just see the show and then write a postcard to the artist that they saw.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, so I think it's just another cool, novel way to start that direct line of conversation.
And we see folks saying now, right, with the algorithms squeezing out, messages for justice, messages about politics, squeezing out independent artists who are like actually doing the work instead of AI slop. So yeah, and that means, hey, we gotta remember to connect with that real world. Maybe that's paper signs or books or stickers in your neighborhood, or maybe it's a postcard or a letter.
Yeah.
It's really important to dig into that stuff, especially nowadays, because there are ways to reach each other outside of the internet.
I feel like there's going to be a resurgence of handwritten pamphlets pretty soon. I feel like there's something very fun about like a neighborhood newsletter and a pamphlet that's distributed. And I keep thinking if we have some kind of civilization collapsing event. I'd love to ask you about some of the just like inspirations that you have that brought you into this line of work, whether that be shows that you saw or journalists that you read that inspired you.
Oh, that's interesting. I've seen so much over the years. I have a degree in theater. I knew from when I was a young person that there was something in that for me. One thing I think of a lot is that I grew up very religious. I grew up in this very very secluded Christian community, let's call it, which I'm not part of anymore. But I remember as a younger person, going into the theater, when I began to act in shows or, be involved in other ways around the theater, and thinking like, oh, this is my church. When I'm in that theater space, and thinking about all the conventions of it and what we share and receive there, and how we all show up there together in a specific way, and getting that sort of that reverence that I was taught to feel that I never felt around religion, and then like finding it around the arts. So that was an important thing for me. I remember, for example, I never knew who Octavius Cato was until I went to a Fringe show where an actor was playing him and talking about his history. In all my school years, I had never learned about the internment of Japanese Americans during World War II. And then I went to a show. Years ago, I went to a play about it. And I had what's supposed to be a really high quality, private school education. Never learned these things. And so I felt like when I was going to the theater, when I was going to other arts, I was learning just these absolutely essential pieces of our history and who we were. That's getting ignored in the lesson books that I had. But the artists were teaching us about it.
Yeah.
And that just really made me feel like, wow, this is a way for us to learn and connect, and especially right now, not to forget the reality of where we came from, for better or worse. We deserve to know it. We deserve to talk about it. And the artists are leading that conversation, even when other systems are failing us in that learning. So,
yeah,
those are some of the reasons that I do the work I do.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. Ultimately, like political acts are often acts of storytelling.
Yes, I mean, just like we were talking about disability, I'm working on a roundup of these shows that are highlighting issues around disability, illness, and healthcare access. And one thing I really believe is that, especially in this environment where we are being erased in so many ways, even to the point where we can't get life-saving healthcare that we should have access to. We're getting squeezed out of the algorithm. We can't get the care that we need. It is a pretty radical thing to even just to stand up and say, I exist, I'm still here, I'm not going anywhere, and I'm going to keep telling my story in the face of all of this, especially with the stigma that you can face in a lot of cases when you stand up and talk about your experience of disability, especially in the realm of the performing arts. If you have something that affects how you are physically in the world, or maybe you look different than other people.
Yeah.
That is such a thing to navigate in the theater world. And people are doing it in such an essential way.
Yeah. I remember a teacher once telling me, in sort of my end of quarter review, and oh yes, sometimes Jeff's glasses can be sort of a mask, sort of obscuring his face. And I was like, well, I need them to see.
You were the only child wearing glasses, or like?
It was so odd. I was like, well, I can't take them out. That's just what I use to see and exist in the world.
And like years later, I was chatting with a friend and I was like, was that ableism? And she was like, I think it's ableism. I mean, you can't tell someone that like their glasses are like in the way of their, certainly maybe practically you might have a role where you need contacts, but to say like, oh, just overall they obscure your connection with your instrument. I was like, all right, well.
Well, and like connected to that conversation is how about we normalize things like having a ramp
Yeah.
as much as we normalize wearing glasses.
Yeah. Yeah.
No one's having arguments about whether people who need glasses should exist in society. But I would be helpless without my glasses. My vision is terrible. But it's just very normalized that
Yeah.
accommodation. And what if we had that attitude about other needs that people have?
There was some meme I saw recently that said, most of us are disabled eventually.
Yes. One thing disability activists say a lot is, I guess two things, is that disabled folks are the largest marginalized group on the planet. Secondly, anyone can become disabled at any time. And if we live long enough, we will. And also, show me a person who gets through life without ever breaking their ankle or having surgery or being pregnant or aging. There's even if you're able-bodied, that's a temporary state. we're all going to experience disability in different ways. And when you focus on that access, it's not like you're focusing on one little segment of the population. It's actually welcoming everyone in, and it makes it better for everyone.
I broke my toe going into my second year of the pig iron school, and it was very interesting just to like realize how much of my day was dependent on that foot. And like getting on the trolley, getting on the bus, just being in class. And it's a lot. I mean, it's a physical devised training school, so there's a lot of aspects of it where you could sort of tell that the teachers did their best, but oftentimes are sort of like, well, do you want to observe this round? And it's an interesting. I feel like breaking a limb is a very interesting, visit into that realm where you are. The lack of accessibility is highlighted for you. You're suddenly realizing, like, oh my God, Philly is awful on its sidewalks. Wow, this really is impossible to navigate.
I don't even know how many times I've had the conversation where, talking about access and, or saying like, oh yeah, sure, I think someone could get in, and I say, but there's a step at the entrance, and then someone be like, oh yeah, oh I never thought about that, or saying like, oh sure, we have a portable ramp you can put in something in the building. Then are the bathrooms wheelchair accessible? Oh no, they're in the basement. Well, if someone can't access, a water fountain or a bathroom in your venue, they can't use your venue, and people are like, able-bodied folks are like, oh, I never thought about this before. Like you never think about it until you're actually faced with it.
So I'm excited that Cannonball is partnering with some other, like the Bluever Theater. And I know last year that when they did, we're at Christchurch, like Christchurch has got ramps, it's got elevators.
This didn't used to be the case, but when you look at the Fringe catalog now, there's a little icon for wheelchair access. That wasn't there a couple years ago, and now it's there. So at BSR, we're really proud to help, promote and push those conversations, and to notice, lots of Cannonball shows. They're happening at the Icebox space and at the Drake, but spaces that folks can get into with the wheelchair or ability aid, and I think that's just so great and so important, especially in a city like Philadelphia, which has a higher proportion of disabled people compared to other comparable cities.
Are there any sort of last thoughts that you have that we haven't touched on that you want people to be aware of, whether that's readers of Broad Street Review or artists that are engaging with your work?
Sure. One thing I would say for anyone listening who's maybe curious about the Cannonball or the Fringe Fest in general, or someone who's been doing it for years, is to see the Fringe as a great opportunity to kind of get outside of your zone. Like one thing I do when I go to the festival is I purposely go and I see, what works are there that are bringing me a window on another culture that I don't have, directly from that artist? Can I go see, a Japanese artist or Ethiopian artists, for example, that I wouldn't see ordinarily? So go and find something that's different from what you normally would do, and go and hear it firsthand from those artists. And if you see a show that you can't quite figure out exactly what it is, or it seems participatory in some weird way, don't shy away from that. Go and do it and see what it's like, and join in and see what you learn. It's just a really good space, and a lot of Fringe shows, they only last like 45 minutes, an hour and a half tops. It's not that much time out of your life, but you really could have some cool experiences. And also, if you're invested in the art scene generally, one reason I love the festival is you get to see all kinds of work that's in development. You kind of see the first iterations of things that are going to come back. Maybe there'll even be a full regional production in a couple of years, or they'll go out, or they'll go on tour around the country, around the world. But you get to see it in that early stage, and then when you go back in successive years, you can see that work again and see how it's grown, or you can see the trajectory of a certain artist, like Lee Minora, for instance, with her like white feminist show. I've seen her lots of great shows at Lightning Rod Special, and now she's got a new show this year that I'm hoping to review. And it's neat to kind of see the arc of that artist's work over several years. And Fringe festivals are just a great opportunity for that. So dive in.
Yeah.
I say.
I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me.
Sure, I appreciate that. And then just to close out, can I give a quick shout out to BSR so folks can find us and follow us?
Absolutely.
Here on Instagram at Broad Street Review, Broad ST Review. You can find us there, broadstreetreview.com. Head over. We have a free newsletter that goes out every Wednesday morning and every Thursday morning that's got our latest stories. So, you can't trust the algorithm to deliver up to you if you're just looking on social media. So get us in your inbox. There's no paywall, no spamming, and just really get in a conversation that spans our whole region, and stick with us, for the festival and then beyond, because our coverage is year round.
Thank you again to Alaina for speaking with me about your work, and thank you to you, our listeners, for listening. Visit broadstreetreview.com for more of Alaina's work, and visit cannonballfestival.org for more information about the festival.